Welcome back, everybody. This is another episode of Kings of the Diamond. That the never is going to stop not rolling off the tongue. I struggle through that title every time. But we're Kings of the Diamond, powered by the Juicebox Pod. I'm your host, Jake Thomas, and I'm joined by Hank Steinmiller. Hank, we're a quarter of the way through the season now. What are your thoughts? Anything changed this week?
I didn't know we were already a quarter of the way through the season, but everyone's kind of held serve this week, I would say. There's a few teams that are moving up. The Jays and the Astros both had a good week. The Astros themselves were a little bit down on their opponents. Weren't quite the best, but everyone's pretty much holding serve where they were last week.
Yeah, I don't think there was actually anybody that lost the division lead. I think all six divisions still have the same first place team. But yeah, there wasn't too much in terms of I was going back through the week to see if I missed anything, and nothing really stood out. A few blowouts that were surprising, but there's a few stats that I found just as the season overall. Now that we're a quarter of the way through the year, that I'm kind of surprised about. So I can jump right in and give my NL recap, and then we can talk about those teams if you're good with that.
Go ahead.
All right, so let's jump right into that. The Giants split with the Pirates, and the Buccos get 2 walk-offs for the wins. The Giants remain in first place by a hair out west. The Padres, they're keeping right behind them. They sweep the Cardinals. Despite all of the injuries from the Padres, they've got Tatis out and a bunch of other names. They stay within a half game of the lead. And they went off on Saturday, putting up 13 on Adam Wainwright. He's had a pretty good season, but that's definitely his worst outing of the season so far. The Braves in the East, they win 2 out of 3 against the Brewers, but they beat themselves up in the process. Their best pitcher so far this season, Huascar Yanoa, he gets shelled on Sunday and then goes in and punches something in the dugout and breaks his hand. So that switches up the pitching staff for them, at least for the few weeks moving forward. The Dodgers, forgot to mention them in the West, but they get really good performances from Trevor Bauer and Clayton Kershaw, and they take 2 out of 3 against the Marlins, but they remain in third place. And that's the best division in baseball. All 3 of those teams are scoring a lot of runs, and I think both wild card spots we're going to find come out of that division most likely based on how the NL East and NL Central are going. And NL East, Washington, they take 2 out of 3 against the Diamondbacks. When they win, they decide to win big. They put up 17 on Friday, and I believe they put up 11 in their last win before that too. So they don't score a lot of runs, but when they do, it all comes at once. And then the interleague games we'll talk about here. The Rays sweep the Mets. Very surprising. Mets are still in first place, but they can't score any runs. And the Blue Jays take 2 out of 3 against the Phillies. Vlad Guerrero hits a home run in all 3 games this weekend and had 4 for the week, 1 behind Aaron Judge for the weekly lead. So my first thing that I want to know from you, what do you think about this NL East? Because the Mets, I saw today, they are last in the league in runs, and they are in first place.
I'd say it's the same story, different season with that entire NL East. Ever since the Braves fell off their little 14-year run there, no one's really emerged out of that. I mean, the Mets had that one season they made a run to the World Series, but it's been the same story for the Mets for the last, 3 or 4 years now. They can't score. And even adding the depth that they have to their lineup, they still can't score. Philly spent money, and they're just an average team still. Those 2 are the big hitters. The Braves, I think, will figure it out eventually. There is big question marks in that pitching staff, but the lineup's as good as any in baseball.
And Acuna is just running away with the MVP so far. He at least in the NL, there's not. I mean, it's early on the season. I sat down to write a blog earlier today, and it was quarter season awards. I was like, this feels just so weird with 120 games to go, trying to pick MVPs and Cy Youngs and all that stuff. So that'll be coming out later this week. But yeah, I don't know. That division is just very strange. I actually put money today on the Mets to win it just because I think they're going to figure it out. At least you would think so. They got Jacob deGrom, best pitcher in the NL. And I feel like looking at the career averages of all those guys in that lineup, that like they all have to come back to the mean at some point.
Yeah.
Like they're all playing below their averages. Lindor has not been good. So I don't know. I don't know what to think, but it's going to be a close battle. And the Marlins are actually the only team in that division with a positive run differential.
The Marlins are surprising. They made a run last year. They did make the playoffs, I believe, correct?
Yes.
I think they did. I don't think they have the juice to make it 162 games, but they're going to make games interesting in that NL East. So I don't know. It's a complete division up for grabs, but someone's got, like we've said with the NL Central, someone's got to win it, and I just don't know who my money would be on right now.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Even with the Nationals down at 16-21 right now, that team still has pitching. It's not the same lineup, but it still has potential in that lineup with maybe a trade at the deadline if they're close.
Yeah, that's true. The one thing that I thought, with it being big news, actually breaking news, that's shocking. Mike Trout is out for 6 to 8 weeks. Right calf strain.
Right calf strain?
Yeah. Seems like a long time for 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, it's a whole different sport for me. I'm used to football where that wouldn't hold you out more than a day, but
yeah, I saw I was going to save that for the AL recap, but I believe he went 1 of 19 this week in his 6 games.
Yeah.
So his batting average dips all the way to 333 with that performance.
Yeah. What a terrible year he's having.
Yeah, but that's a team. Well, are we going to go his whole career with him just being on a shitty Angels team?
Seems like it. I mean, he signed, what, a 10-year, $450 million deal, wherever it was, 423, 424.
They've got, I mean, he's the best hitter, best player in all of baseball. You've got a pitcher that rakes. And then did you see that comment? Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
you did kind of hop up there pretty quick. I was scared.
I had to get my foot under me.
But let's talk about the NL Central a little bit because you alluded to it. That's another division that all the teams are right there. I think we can agree that the Pirates have zero chance, but they compete in games. The Cardinals get swept this weekend in a 4-game. Or no, it was just a 3-game series. But that lineup outside of Goldschmidt and Arenado, both of them have been playing well. I think Arenado is going to be in the MVP talk when it's all said and done at the end of the year. But that lineup's just not good. Yadier Molina is probably the 3rd best guy in that lineup right now, and he's, 45 years old?
45 to 62, somewhere in there.
He's the same as our Pujols. Do we really actually know his age?
I have no idea. I mean, I was just looking about his brothers earlier today when we used to play Name That Molina. So
yeah,
he's the only one that stuck around. So it's been quite a while.
But you've got the Brewers. They're a decent team. They're right there, 2 games back. Cubs, I think they're really bad. I think they're the 4th team in this division, but they're only 2.5 back. And then the Reds are sitting at 3 games back. So
I would agree on the Cubs. I think the Reds are going to be one of those interesting teams at the deadline because I think they're going to be in the hunt, and I don't think that's a terrible team right now. They're lacking a bit of everything, I would say, maybe a player on each side, but they're not a bad team.
I think that I think the Reds. I think the one thing they need to do is whenever Sonny Gray is planned to pitch away, I think they should just hold him off until he gets home because his splits home and road are insane. So just save him for every home game and find somebody else. Pitch Castillo on all the road games.
Whatever works. Castillo's not. He's got to come back to his normal self too. That he's pitching tonight.
Yeah, that. Who are they going up against tonight?
The Giants.
It just started. It's they're up 1-0 already. He gets through the first. But yeah, so what are your in the NL here? If you were to pick 3 players that stand out so far, that I'm thinking through my blog for later this week. Who are your 3 players that stand out in terms of MVP? Who would you put at the top of the list so far?
Obviously, we go Acuna.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how Castellanos isn't near there. I think he's done. I mean, he's doing everything right now. So I go Castellanos, and then I don't know about a third one.
Yeah, I think. Well, like I said, I think Arenado's
comparable numbers to Acuna.
Who'd you say?
Harper is putting up comparable numbers to Acuna right now.
Yeah, that is true. He is putting up some good numbers, which I feel like he came on the scene so strong, and then these last couple of years have been down slightly that I think he's kind of forgot about now. Some of the younger players have kind of.
It's down to a very good player. So when he had that string of he came up, he was really good. I think he backed off for a year or two. Then he had the MVP season, and then he had a down year, and then he had another MVP-like season. So when you have those 2 big years and you have that big of a name and that big of a come up, even when you're just really good, you get forgotten about. If you're not putting up Mike Trout numbers as Bryce Harper, you're now basically nothing.
Yeah. I'm trying to pull up
that's how it goes.
Yeah, it isn't, but I mean, really most of the stuff that goes on in sports talk isn't really fair when it comes down to it. I'm trying to pull up here quick the current MVP odds on the sports book. National League MVP. Acuna, Arenado, Freddie Freeman.
They really got Arenado that high?
Arenado's plus 2,500. I mean, so I guess for some reason they don't put these in order, but it's Acuna, Chris Bryant, Freddie Freeman, and then Arenado's 4th.
Interesting.
Oh, actually, I take that back. He's 5th. Bryce Harper is wedged in there. So
it seems like they just keep names up there for now. But I mean, that makes sense because those guys are normally going to stay at their average, and then the other guys probably regress to their mean. But Castellanos having a hell of a year. Acuna's up there. Brian is having a good year. But if you're going to put Acuna in there and say that people are saying he's the favorite and running away with it, Harper's got almost identical stats. Yeah, as of the midweek.
I feel like he over the last couple of years, Acuna has just been such a big name that people are going to lean towards him, so they can't put the odds too big.
That's kind of how we said about Harper there. Acuna is brand new; he's burst on the scene the last 2 years. But if Harper puts up these numbers, that's just that's average for Bryce Harper kind of thing.
Yeah, it's the shiny new toy. You got a new toy for Christmas. You got to use that instead.
I'm not saying Acuna isn't outplaying him, but I'm like, if you're putting him up there, Harper has basically identical stuff. So.
Yeah. Well, I think that. I guess the one other thing I want to talk about, NL West, where I said about how those 3 teams are just on fire right now. The run differential, they're all 3 teams are top 7 in all of baseball in run differential. Giants at plus 36, Padres at plus 47, Dodgers at plus 51. I believe there's no other team. There's no other team in the NL that even comes close to any of them. They all lead the way.
And let's put this in perspective. The Dodgers are only 2 games back, and they went on a 15 stretch there.
Yeah. Did you have any comment on the Buccos?
We'll see where we're at the All-Star break.
What is your bet? What's the
just whoever wins the most games there between the Orioles and the Pirates?
Okay, that's what it is. So what's the current update on that? Where are we sitting?
They're tied 17 and 23, both of them.
Okay, got a long way to go, but it's going to be a tight battle. Let's jump over to the AL. I'll go through the recap quick, and then we can dive through these. Yankees take 2 out of 3 against your O's. Aaron Judge, he had 5 home runs this week, and he loves beating up on the Orioles. I would like to see his stats.
You can pick any Yankee and say they love beating up on the Orioles, especially in Camden. Gleyber Torres, Aaron Judge, Stanton, even Voit.
Voit didn't even play, did he? And he still beat up on him?
I think that was his first series back, maybe. He did hit a home run in that series.
Okay. I didn't get to watch too much of it. One thing from earlier in the week, not over the weekend, but our boy John Means continues to pitch well. 6 shutout innings against the Mets on Tuesday, gets his ERA down to 1.21. I'm still going to just keep mentioning his name every podcast to try to convince him to come on.
He did get scratched on Sunday. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I haven't seen any update on that, but hopefully he's okay. I'm pissed at the Angels. That's nothing new, but my gambling on Saturdays is so much worse than my gambling on every other day of the week. I went 0-6 on Saturday, and I thought I was going to win this one. I had over 9.5. The Red Sox put up 9 by themselves, and the Angels can't even scrape up a run with Trout and Ohtani in the lineup. So that pissed me off, but oh well. Trout, like we said earlier, he went 1 of 19 in his 6 games this week, dipped his batting average down to 333, and he's now out for 6 to 8 weeks. The White Sox, they take 2 out of 3 to continue growing their lead in the AL Central. Mike Minor, I was surprised. He had a good outing against them on Saturday. They beat up lefties pretty bad. They're 8-2 on the year against lefties, and I believe 6 of their wins came by at least 2 runs. So he pitched 7 strong, only gave up 1 run. That was pretty impressive. They did put up the White Sox played a lefty again last night, and they ended up putting 16 on him. Did you see Yerman Mercedes' home run in the 9th inning?
Thing I wanted to touch on why everyone's getting all bent out of shape on that. I know historically that's a take pitch there. It's never really been. I didn't really know that was an unwritten rule. I think the more unwritten rule is you're up 15 to whatever your list, and you have a position player pitching, but a 3-0 count's always been dependent on what batter's up. Some batters have a green light in a 3-0 count, so I don't know that was the issue the way people are saying it.
Well, the only thing is La Russa came out today and said he wasn't happy with it. So, I feel like that would be coming from him on whether it's a green light or not.
How much of that is to pull down tensions, though?
Yeah, I just feel like, I have no problem with it. I think you don't steal up that many just because, there's no reason to.
Hard. Yeah.
But the problem with baseball is that even when a team's down, like there's no shot clock, there's no timer. Like you have to still get the outs. So there is no reason for a team that's winning to take it easy. They still got to step up and they got to hit the ball. They're not going to just sit there and watch pitches the entire time.
There's no run rule. It's not Little League. So
yeah. You're grown men. You went out there, you put a pitcher position player on the mound, and he served up a meatball on a 3-0 count. I have no issue with it. He's probably going to get thrown out today, and we'll move on after that. It's just how baseball works, and I think people are very much overreacting to this.
I agree, and I just don't see the issue with. I mean, what's he supposed to do? Stand there and strike out?
Yeah, that's. I mean, you don't want to do that. You're trying to. I mean, all these guys are trying to make money too. So like you want to try to pad your stats as much as possible in a game like this. I mean, that could make the difference between like million, 1 to 2 million in his next contract.
Potentially, it could add to it for sure. Yeah. But that's it is what it is. It's old baseball versus new baseball. I don't have a problem with that. I've never really had a problem with that, but
yeah, I have no problem with that happening, and then I have no problem with them throwing at him the next day. That's if you do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
We'll jump out west. I don't really have much on these series because I'm not gonna lie, I did not watch most of them. But A's win another series. They've won each of their last 4 series. The Astros sweep the Rangers in a 4-game series to keep pace with them. I believe they're a half game back. And the Seattle Mariners.
A game all week.
They didn't lose a game all week?
Not that I know of.
Okay. I know they swept that series, but I didn't look back to the week. And then Seattle Mariners, they're sticking right there. I think they're 3 games back. They take 3 out of 4 against the Indians. So the AL West is a 3-man race right now. The Angels are sitting back a little bit, and then the Rangers, they had a rough week. They're falling off. The last interleague series that I didn't mention up above, it's another series that I don't take too much out of because I said earlier that I think the Cubs are pretty bad, and they took 2 out of 3 against the Tigers, who are the worst team in baseball. So I think we can move on from that without saying much.
Outside of the Twins, they're the worst team in baseball currently. But
did the Twins? Did they? The Twins fall below them?
Twins are 13-26 right now. 2-8 in their last 10.
That is rough. And you have probably one of the top 5 to top 10 pitchers in all of baseball on that squad. But I guess he only pitches once every 5 days, so the other 4 days you're struggling to scrape out a win.
And really, I think it's getting the runs. I don't think they're manufacturing many runs. They're not getting as much as they're giving up, obviously. Otherwise, they'd be winning. But they're just not scoring, and they're not pitching well. I mean, they're average in scoring, and they're not pitching well. So,
you've got – I'm trying to think through their pitching staff. So they have Barrios. J. Happ is over the hill. He found some lightning in a bottle going to Minnesota the last couple of years, but it seemed to have fallen off. Who's the other 3 guys that I'm forgetting?
Kenta Maeda and Pineda.
Yes, which, I mean, both of those guys are guys that are supposed to be good, but I'm looking at it, and they are currently 28th in earned run average, 26th in batting average against. They're slugging the ball pretty good, so they're getting home runs occasionally, but that seems to be the only runs that they're scoring.
They're just middle of the road in runs scored, so they're not making up for the lack of pitching they're getting. But that's a powerful lineup. It doesn't play well in their ballpark. I don't think any lineup plays well in their ballpark, but who knows what happens after. I mean, it's still a quarter of the way through the season. They definitely have the tools to turn that around, but it better happen quick.
They do, but I'm going to say this right now. They're fighting for a wild card spot because they're 11 and a half games back of the White Sox, and I think the White Sox are just too good. They're not catching them.
Well, there's that, and I mean, the odd part about this is one of the most, I think outside of the Dodgers, this team's won the most games in the last 2 years.
Is that true?
I'm not 100% on that, but I believe they've won almost 100 games the last 2 full seasons.
I mean, they've been a team that they're always right there. They make the playoffs, and then they get destroyed by the Yankees. So I don't know. They're a team that I struggle to figure out. Well, what's your opinion on the Red Sox? Do you think they're going to stick around? I did not see them competing much this year, but then they just keep on winning ball games.
They're going to stick around because that lineup is very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if the pitching stays, but I don't think that's really going to matter for them because that lineup is that good.
It's tough to bet the under on them, which I'm the king betting the under, and they stick it at 9.5 every single time, and I'm like, that seems like a lot of runs. In this in baseball, how it's going this year, the under is the trend, but
Is it?
They're the only teams that seem to they're the only team that seems to be bucking that trend.
Yeah, so I just did a little bit of looking here. The Twins won 100 and something games 2 years ago, and they won 36 last year, and the Dodgers won 43, and I'm sure they were over 100 the year before. So I think the Twins are right behind them in most wins the last 2 years. So I haven't seen much change in that entire team, to be honest. I don't know what the issue is right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we talked about it last time that the thing that they were struggling at as of last week was that they couldn't win the extra inning games, and anytime they played in 7 inning games, they were struggling in both of those. I believe it was like 0-11 or something like that in 7 inning games and extra innings.
Yeah, it was not good, whatever it was. But back to your Red Sox point, I don't think the Yankees are going to catch them. I think if anyone's going to compete with them, it's going to be the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Oh, Jake left. What's up, guys?
I don't know what happened there. Just kicked me out to the main page, but we're back. What were you saying?
I was saying I think the Jays are the next closest team to catch them. I don't like the Yankees have their ebbs and flows, and their ebbs come when they're playing bad competition, and they're other than that, it's not been good.
Do you think that those young guys can keep up though with the attrition of a 162 game season?
Here's what I get out of younger players, especially younger teams, and we've seen it somewhat as of late. If you look at the Rays, even back when the Royals were making their World Series run, they were fairly young, I believe. I can't think of anyone that, I mean, aside from, I think Moustakas has been around forever, but that was
he was still on the younger side.
Yeah, it was a fairly young team, but those young guys, I don't think they know any better. I don't think they're going to make a run to the World Series, but I don't think they know any better other than to continue to go out and play baseball. And if they're staying where they're at, then like doing what they're doing, that they're going to be all right.
Yeah, I mean, Vladdy's going to do what he does. I just don't know about their pitching staff. I'm not sold on that. Their lineup's good.
There's not much pitching in the AL East, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like the best pitchers in the league are stacked in probably the AL Central, NL East, and NL West.
Each team in the AL East has like one glorified starter that is obviously head and heels above the rest of the staff.
So over under, if we set it at 3.5, starting pitchers that are traded to the AL East by the trade deadline. Because
I don't think the Yankees take one. We'll go with that.
I think of anybody they have to outside of Garrett Cole. This team, I mean that Jameson Taillon, I love him. I loved him as a Pirate, but he's still kind of not coming back from that injury as well as I thought he would.
Montgomery hasn't had a bad season. He had a bad last outing, but
I just feel like they have a number one and a bunch of 4s and 5s,
which is pretty much what every team has in that AL East.
Yeah.
Except for the Orioles. They have a number 1, and then they have a bunch of AA players.
Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to think of what pitchers are going to be around at the deadline. We talked about it, depending on which way Washington goes, up or down. Yeah, they could be sellers. In the NL Central, if all those teams are going to stick around there, the Pirates, if they're at the bottom, there's nobody to trade. Possibly the Cubs trade somebody off.
Yeah, I could see the Cubs getting rid of someone.
You could see the Diamondbacks get rid of Bumgarner. So somebody could go get him for a run.
Maybe. I was thinking that. What about the NL? Oh, the NL East is going to need pitching too.
Well, I mean, the Mets have a good staff.
The Mets should be all right, but if you're looking down the rest of it, some of those pitchers are going to have to go to the Braves. I think the Phillies probably need one.
I think the Phillies could probably use just a back end guy because they've got Nola, they've got,
Wheeler.
Yeah, Wheeler's been pitching real well, so I think they're set. I think the NL East is more set at 1 and 2, and they might need back end guys. The AL, some of those teams need to go get 2s.
They need 2s or 3s, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of, would the Rangers get rid of Gibson?
They could.
I don't know how far along. Would they consider themselves in a rebuild right now, or are they still looking to rebuild more?
I think they're trying to rebuild more. I think, but at the same time, at some point, you got to put butts in those seats of that massive stadium that you just built.
Yeah, so you got to keep players around. If the Twins stay on this,
that's the thing is you could just blow everything up, and they've got 4 starters that probably could easily be 2s and 3s.
You can at least blow up the pitching.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it all depends on what's out there, but I love talking trade deadline. We'll have to do some sort of special thing that week in July where we just jump on here like every single day because I could sit and talk about who could go where and who fits where best.
Who gets a bag of peanuts for whatever great starter that they have.
Yeah, I feel like you and I are also guys that just love talking about minor league players. So that's another good time to talk about that on who the top 10 prospects are for each team and where they could be going.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different ways that some of those guys could go, or pitching wise that they could go. But I'd stick to the under because I think it's going to be 3 of what you gave instead of 3.5. I'd say 3.
Okay, I was trying to decide on whether 2.5, 3.5, where the line should be set, but I'll go over just to go the opposite way. Have you been keeping track of our teams at all? Have you paid attention at all to that?
No, I have not, to be honest. Let's get that set up we'll do that sometime this week. We'll get it set up on that fantasy thing that can keep track of all that.
Yeah.
So that it'll automatically keep track of it.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how we did. I'm trying to think. I have my team written down somewhere, but I want to see how we're doing so far.
Yeah, we'll check that out, or we'll get that set up so we can go over that each week too. But
okay. And then I want this to be something to talk about next week. So I wanted to put this in your brain now. Top 5 stadiums in all baseball. We'll go just back and forth, drafting teams, and then we'll put a little graphic together and see who votes for who has the better list of stadiums.
Okay.
I'm in a real list mood, so
can we pick the same ones, you and I?
No.
Okay, so we're gonna draft them like we did the players.
Yeah, basically, just top 5. We'll just go top 5 stadiums.
Okay. Last point before we hop off here, I wanted to talk about players getting hit in the face this season. Why? Well, I mean, we've seen him get hit before, but usually it's off of something weird like a foul ball or a bunt that goes awry. But is it out of control pitchers, or why do you think that's? I know it's only happened twice, maybe. Maybe there was 3 times, but what's the?
I feel like that's something that happens a few times every year, though.
Normally see it in the helmet. You know what I mean? Like these are getting hit square in the face.
So I think the one thing is that because it's an up and in pitch, I think a lot of guys now, instead of immediately getting out of the way, I think they're also trying to open up to possibly. I mean, Otani's home run that he hit the other night, I think last night, was up at his face. I mean, it was over the plate, but it was up at his face. I think a lot of guys are trying to turn on that pitch and take it down the line, and
too long to protect themselves.
Yeah, because I mean, anytime a pitch was up and in against me, I know I was getting out of the way. I was protecting my face at all costs, but not that I had much to save, but I still was trying to protect it.
Let's just get out of this box and not get hit with anything. We're not going to gain anything out of it, type of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious because it's been 2 pretty clear ones that are going right at people's faces. And I know you got to challenge people, but I feel like before we were seeing better control command out of pitchers.
Well, that guy for the Braves last night, or who was it that hit Pilar? What team was that?
It was the Braves. I don't know who it was though.
Okay, so from what I could tell, that really was just bad, just a bad pitch because you could tell that slipped out of his hand immediately. They were setting up inside, and he just did not pull down on that pitch at all, and it sailed on him. So I think just the nature of pitching. If you have a 162 game season, 30 teams, I feel like just pitches getting away are going to happen about 5 times a year, and someone's going to get hit.
Yeah, was it Newcomb? No, it was Brandon Webb.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't blame him for it. He was very scared as soon as it happened. He kind of fell down and just watched closely to see how Pilar was.
No one wants to hit him in the face, but I'm just curious why we've seen it. Because the last couple that I can remember was Stanton and AJ Burnett. I don't remember anything like clean in the face. I know there's helmet grazes or in the helmet, things like that, but just straight to the face, I've not seen it as much as we have this year.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to hear some other people's thoughts on that. If you were listening to this, tweet at us, JTZ4, Hank_Non Jr. We want to get your thoughts on it. But why are people getting hit in the face? I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you.
Yeah, and I don't know. I assume that the Mets didn't take retaliation to that. I think that's one thing that there's no retaliation for because it's getting hit in the head's just not something people try to do.
Yeah, you're not trying to do that. There's no ill will really between those two teams. I think based on the expression that he had and the whole Braves team had as soon as it happened, I don't think that's something you go after.
Yeah, so we'll see how the rest of the season plays out with that. I hope no one else gets hit in the face, but I guess Bryce Harper just has a chiseled chin because his face did not look like Pilar's after he got hit in the face.
He's just a special type of person. That face just never going to change.
He's a robot.
But other than that, you got anything else that you want to get off your mind this week?
Not right now, other than I'll leave you speaking of Ohtani, still the best player in baseball.
He's the only one that can pitch and hit.
Even more so with Trout on the IL.
Yeah, he's gonna have to do big things just to keep them out of the cellar. So with that, we got finished right in time for me to go watch the Penguins game 2 of the playoffs. And we got a lot more baseball to watch. We'll be back most likely on Monday. I know we're coming out on Tuesday, but that was just a freak thing that we had to switch to today. You can find me everywhere at JTZ4. Hank, you want to give yours?
Twitter at Hank_Naughton Jr. and Instagram at SteinMiller03.
Go give us a follow there, the Sports Shift Media Twitter and Instagram account, and then go over to YouTube and like and subscribe over there as well to help us out. Another great week, quarter of the way through the season. Excited to bring the other 3 quarters to you from here at Kings of the Diamond, powered by the Juicebox Pod. We'll be back and see you next week.
See ya.